And hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Stuart Irvine, as you can hear all by myself, no Josh yet again. Work commitments have got in the way yet again, but that's cool, it was bound to happen eventually, a bit more than normally anyway. So he'll be back for our next review, hopefully, fingers crossed. But until then, you've just all by myself reviewing Survivor Series 2021, in a show that build-up wasn't great, but had some intriguing matchups with obviously both the women's and men's Raw versus SmackDown matches, 5-on-5. We obviously had Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair, and then we obviously had in the main event Roman Reigns versus Big E. So it shaped up to be an intriguing show. But before we start reviewing that, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. Links will be in the description below. Really appreciate it. Hopefully get maybe to 60 by the end of the year. Would be awesome for a return that we're doing. So so let's get this underway. Let's talk about Survivor Series 2021. Hit the music.
At last, you're on your own!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
Yes! You just made the list!
Brock Lesnar!
So before we dive into each match one by one with more detail, just want to talk about my kind of initial thoughts of the show in general. It wasn't exactly a great show. It was fine. It was like nothing really crazy going on. It was by the numbers, kind of typical WWE in the sense that the matches were competent, they were fun enough, and they were fine. But nothing to write home about, maybe. You would probably say the best match, I would say, would probably be Becky versus Charlotte, but that was no surprise because Becky versus Charlotte, and they usually pull it off whenever they're in the ring, so it's no surprise there. But yeah, there's just nothing really there to really, enjoy, like really get invested with. Obviously, you had the 5-on-5 Survivor Series matches, but I mean that was fun-ish. I mean the men's one and the women's one was fun enough, but there's no stakes to it. It's kind of what we've kind of been going. It was kind of by the numbers. It was like, if you miss this show, it's not the end of the world. I mean, that's what a show shouldn't be. But yeah, it was fine. I mean, it's like most WWE pay-per-views. You don't have to really, you can miss them, but when you do watch them, they're competent enough and they're fun enough, but they're not going to blow you away. Like example, like AEW are doing right now. But so yeah, that's what I thought. I don't know. I just didn't feel like a show that. I mean, but like this, if I wasn't reviewing this, I probably would skip this pay-per-view. But to be fair, if I wasn't reviewing this, I would skip most WWE pay-per-views, except for the big ones. And that's not an insult to anyone that enjoys this show, because that's cool. You can enjoy it if you want. But for me, it just didn't. There's no spark in WWE anymore. There's this kind of gloom around the place at the moment where it's really hard to not put the kind of backstage stuff and the releases and all that kind of stuff they're doing behind the scenes that doesn't affect your watching of a show. That I know a lot of people say, well, don't listen to them. It's like, that's true, but it's really hard to watch this, really be a fan of this company in general. So, but I mean, it's nothing on the wrestlers. I mean, the content is still okay, so you can still enjoy it if you look at it just as a pay-per-view. So, but yeah, it was fine. It was nothing crazy. It was, I would say competent. It was fun, and it had moments of fun. It was enjoyable, but nothing really crazy. So that's dive more detail into the show itself. Obviously, before we get into the main show, obviously we're going to talk about the kickoff match just briefly. Obviously, as we always do, obviously the kickoff match was a champion versus champion match between the United States champion Damian Priest and the Intercontinental champion Shinsuke Nakamura. In a match that, again, I've only watched the end of it really, with the kind of whole thing where there's a whole thing with Damian Priest having like a Jekyll and Hyde situation, and funny enough, doesn't like rock music apparently, because Boomer, or the guy that plays guitar for Nakamura that makes him really cool, kept playing during his match, and he got so frustrated and annoyed by this guy, he went out to the ring, smashed his guitar, hit him with it, and then Nakamura came out and then hit him. It ended in a DQ, so I'm assuming Nakamura wins. Obviously, I don't think they count the kind of scoring system for this. So we all know one year when it's like, I think like when Raw destroyed everyone, like SmackDown won the kickoff and they didn't count that in the score. That's kind of rubbish, but I don't know. But yeah, so it's weird this one because again, it probably would have been a good match because obviously Damian Priest is quite good, and Nakamura hasn't been on TV for ages apparently. So what are we gonna do with that? So I don't know. If it's true with a story like a Damian Priest has got a temper, that could be an interesting kind of, as someone said, Jekyll and Hyde situation that I like. That could be an interesting storyline, but yeah, it's just it's another one of these matches that's kind of like has no stakes to it. It didn't have anything going for it other than just it was just booked. It was on there. It's just a match just on a pay-per-view. There's no story there that I can find. But yes, obviously at this point Nakamura won by DQ. So obviously we'll just get through that quickly. So now let's go in talking about the start of the show, and surprisingly started off with the match between Becky Lynch, the Raw Women's Champion, versus Charlotte Flair, the SmackDown Women's Champion. It's just a weird build-up, this one, purely full of facts that there's a lot of talk backstage that there was a fight between Becky and Charlotte. They're not friends anymore. There's been altercation. We obviously have that infamous kind of exchanging of the titles thing a couple of weeks ago that a lot of people said was a bit felt awkward. That could have meant it was a bit off script. That I don't know. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. It's one of those things that wouldn't be the first time that WWE have tried to play up kind of things that to make it seem like it's real when it really isn't. But and I've got my friend Kyle from obviously thing I do stream on Twitch with, a good friend of the podcast. Kind of thinks it's all swerve. It's all playing us. That he's probably right. But it's a weird one build up. Obviously, the build up of this, they're not friends anymore. With not respect. It could be like Charlotte's jealous of Becky. Becky's jealous of Charlotte. It's ironic because when you think of the build, they're both heels. So I'm assuming Becky's the face in this, just by default of everyone likes Becky anyway. I don't know, but yeah. So you kind of knew it was going to be a good match purely for the fact that it's Becky versus Charlotte. They usually put on some pretty good matches. The only problem with this, again, there's no stakes to it other than just the personal story that they've built. That, again, is fine. But this was one of the matches, probably similar to the main event, where it's just there was no stakes it was Raw versus SmackDown. It's just another Becky Lynch Charlotte match. If you just did it like that, where it's just a normal match. But, yeah, they built up the brand stuff. They don't really bring up anymore. So, I actually don't know why they make a big deal of it. So, but yeah, so obviously we're going to talk about the match in general. We've got to obviously talk a little bit about the gear. I mean, I think it was Becky Lynch's kind of red gear, kind of was very more like Scarlet Witch type thing. That was kind of nice. And I guess there's more to that I can't pinpoint on top of my head at the moment. Obviously, we had Charlotte. Obviously, usual good gear. They both have gears on point at this point. I don't know why I'm talking much about it. But yeah. So when it comes to the match, they have done better matches. Basically, they have done better ones, obviously. But yeah, it was fun as you. I would say it's match of the night, maybe. Would it be the worst idea? But when it comes to the match in general, a lot of it was basically they knew each other so well that no one really can get control of the match. Obviously, we got Charlotte hitting Becky's old moves. It's kind of approved to that point. Obviously, we had her hit a Beck explode later on in the match. We had her lock in a disarmer on Becky Lynch. It was kind of cool, but Becky Lynch was also doing the same to her. It was just trying to interfere for a leg lock, all that kind of cool stuff. Obviously, later on in the match, we had stuff like was it Becky Lynch running into a big boot by Charlotte? With Charlotte basically getting really frustrated with hitting all these big moves on her, and Stu couldn't put her away. That kind of shows her ego as well. We got on also Becky Lynch hitting some insane kind of DDT on Charlotte for near full. The crowd this is probably a thread throughout the show where the crowd weren't really, I wouldn't say into it. Maybe it's because you're used to watching AEW crowds, so it's they're really hot, and it's this now it's they're into moments, but it just didn't feel, for how they're bigging up this feud and rivalry, the crowd should be more into it. But I have to admit, WWE don't give them much to go on, so I don't blame them. But yeah, anyway, so obviously later on in the match we had Becky Lynch going to top, hitting a leg drop with Charlotte in the middle rope. Completely missed it. We've got Becky Lynch hits the rock bottom. There is the rock bottom. I couldn't just call them that. On Charlotte, but then Charlotte was able to put her leg on the bottom rope. The usual stuff where never get this spot where they they put their foot on the bottom rope, and it's they pin it in a way that's obvious it's going to be that spot. It's very strange. They do it too much now. I think it's that it becomes inert. It used to be a thing they done now and then, but it doesn't now. So it's really annoying. But we did, obviously, as we said, Becky Lynch did lock in the figure 4 leg lock. And then we had a nice slapping match, because they're trying to outdo each other. Obviously, Charlotte reversed it. We had a nice moonsault to Becky Lynch on the outside. We said, as we said earlier, Charlotte locking in the disarmer, but Becky Lynch was able to get out of it. We also got a nice pin and roll that kind of was the finish, basically trying to outsmart Becky Lynch by trying to pin her and using the tights and the ropes to try and get an advantage. But the ref saw it. It's actually, for once, the ref actually saw it. It was really nice. Then, obviously, Becky Lynch reversed it. And reversed it into a pin attempt. But just the last second, hold on to the ropes. Got the 3. The ref didn't see it. So, Becky Lynch is victorious by shenanigans and cheating. The other thing about this is really strange that Charlotte just didn't care. She just kind of laughed it off and then walked down the ramp like she didn't care in the world. Kind of puts more fuel to the fire that this was a bit more than maybe to write her off, or because I don't know if there's, I think there's a bit more to this than just, it's a work. We'll find out, obviously, I don't know if she was on SmackDown, so we'll find out on Friday. Hopefully this will be up before then, fingers crossed. But yeah, it was a good match, but it's like one of these things, like there's not enough to care about it. Like the build up, probably the is this real or not, was probably way more interesting than maybe the matchup they were trying to book. Maybe it's just my opinion, but yeah, it was good stuff here. I mean, I think it's to start the show, it made sense. Two of the best workers in probably the most intriguing match, maybe not into the main event. You got to start off with a match kick the show off good. So yeah, it did a good job in that sense. But yeah, I wish it was just a bit more. There was something, I just wish they put this Survivor Series brand a bit more intense. Make it a bit more of a thing and just it's a saying. They just say it, but then they don't show it. That's the basic of any good story. Even I know that, and I don't know much. So, but anyway, yeah. So next, we're going to talk about is the first of 2 5-on-5 Survivor Series matches between Raw versus SmackDown. In this one, they kicked off with the men's one, where we had Team Raw with Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, Bobby Lashley, and Austin Theory, going against Team SmackDown, Drew McIntyre, Jeff Hardy, King Woods, Happy Corbin, and Sheamus. It was an interesting one because both sides were basically doing that whole thing where no one knew who was going to be on the team beforehand. Raw was very strange, where they kind of done a thing where the Mysterios are on it, but then Pierce was kind of putting matches where Bobby Lashley to get them out of the match. That I think some point out right. It's why is Pierce acting like Raw is his baby when he's in charge of both shows? So what does he get out of being on Raw? It's unless they did a thing where Sonya Deville was the SmackDown and he was Raw, but they never made that clear. I don't think I've seen anything they said they made that clear. So I don't know, but that's some cool stuff. You had the thread where obviously KO, can you trust him? You had Seth Rollins basically being Seth Rollins. Obviously we'll talk about that, what happened to him Monday night in a bit. But yeah, it's obviously had the whole thing where we didn't know who was going to be the final member of SmackDown, and then we found out it was Sheamus. That I guess out of all the ones you could have picked, you picked Sheamus. Nothing against Sheamus, but you've seen once, you've seen it all. But yeah, it's kind of it was kind of a good match in a sense. It was really fun. And it had a lot of cool stuff going on with it. But again, I wish they really, and I don't want to, be a dead horse here, but got to talk. We've got to build this stuff up, put some stakes to this match. If they put stakes onto the way they booked this match would have been really more enjoyable to watch. It was still good, but it's just one of those things. But anyway, so obviously start off the match, we had Xavier Woods starting off for SmackDown, and we had an argument between Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, with Owens trying to convince Seth to let me start the match, let me prove myself. That they kind of built up in the kind of, that KO was kind of, everyone expecting KO to be a backstabbing douchebag, and now he's you know what, screw it. If you think that's who I am, that's who I'm going to be. So they kind of pushed it. It was kind of funny. In the sense that he's probably on his way out at this point. Well, unless things change, it'd be AEW starting next year. So, but yeah, so obviously had an argument, and then we just had a face-to-face between Woods, and then Owens just went out the ring, walks away, not coming back. He's being eliminated by count out. That's someone pointed out quite nicely. Also, he got Seth Rollins like, what the hell? And it's like, you did the exact same thing last year where you put yourself as the sacrificial lamb at the beginning of your team when you were Team SmackDown, and he was written off. So, comeuppance for Seth Rollins for that both two can play that game. I haven't watched Raw yet, I don't think, so I don't know if he got comeuppance for that. He probably didn't, because, all that's the way we write him off telly. I don't know. I haven't checked Raw yet. I know it's Thursday. Probably should have. Shows how terrible person I am. So at that point it was 5-4. So at this point, obviously SmackDown took most of the control. A lot of them working on the arms. I think Finn was in there at one point. So SmackDown were just complete control at this point. But then obviously when Raw got back into it as you expect, you got Drew hitting a big suplex on Finn Balor. You had Finn Balor with the whole trying to get a tag, but just couldn't get to the corner. And then obviously, as you expect, the match broke down with all the people involved, hitting each other, having a bit of a brawl. Obviously, but the match did become equal when Finn Balor hit the coup de grace on Happy Corbin to make it 4-4, to make it even. And at this point, Raw kind of took control, as you expect as well. We obviously had, Bobby Lashley hitting a spear on Xavier Woods or King Woods, and then locking in the Hurt Lock later on in the match, so he's out. So that makes it 4-3 to Raw. And then later on in the match, we had some cool stuff with a face-off between Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre. So yeah, we had a back and forth between those two. We had a bit where basically Bobby Lashley didn't want to face Drew, so we tried to tag, but no one was around because everyone's been taken out. But then it involved a brawl to the outside, and they both got counted out, so it made it 3-2 to each team. So it means Raw still got the advantage. But yeah, both Lashley and McIntyre weren't done beating the crap out of each other, basically. And we had was it McIntyre hitting a Claymore on Lashley, and he was out of the ring. So, and again, this kind of pointless because they won't be had full up because they're both on different brands. That would have been a good starting point for a story, but hey, what do I know? We did have a bit where Seth was kind of mocking Drew. It's like, my God, man, are you that dumb? Don't do that. And then Drew, I love Drew, like going like, you know what, screw you. And then he gave him a nice Glasgow kiss. And then you got Sheamus trying to take advantage to try and get to the 2. Only got a 2, I mean. And then after that we had, Sheamus did make it 2-2, so so it's even when Sheamus hit the Bro Kick on Finn Balor, so he's out of there. Again, the crowd weren't really into this match as well as much as they would probably like. Then we had Sheamus and Jeff Hardy were final 2 SmackDown. Seth Rollins and Austin Theory were the final 2 for Raw. At this point, they're working together. We had obviously Sheamus playing mats in the kind of poetry in motion kind of move. I don't know if that's a hint. That's kind of cool. We had obviously Sheamus and Jeff Hardy doing 10 bells, both of them on Austin Theory and Seth Rollins. So it was a cool thing like that. Just like working together. That was a cool little moment. But then obviously Austin Theory was able to roll up Sheamus to make it 2-1 to Raw. Sheamus wasn't happy with this at this point. So he attacked Austin Theory, and then he obviously attacked Jeff Hardy. So it was like, oh, what the hell? It's like, so basically both sides had a person that just turned on their team. So typical stuff. So at this point it was 2-1. So Jeff was all by himself. So it's basically the old story of as old as time. Well, it looks like Raw's probably going to get the win because there's overwhelming numbers. Yes, and after this we had then Seth Rollins kind of hit a frog splash on Jeff Hardy for a near fall. Then we both got Austin Theory and Seth Rollins trying to do a double suplex on Jeff Hardy with no avail. Then we got Hardy who went back up, knocked Theory off the top and hit a Swanton bomb on Theory. He's out of there. It's 1-1. Seth Rollins versus Jeff Hardy. A cool back and forth between those two. Some awesome stuff here, but it all culminated in the end when Jeff went to the top trying to hit another Swanton bomb, but Seth Rollins put his knees up and then he hit the stop to get the 1, 2, 3, and Raw, I think, second year in a row, is the winner, and Seth Rollins is the sole survivor. Yeah, it was, but yes, I think it had the moments that it was enjoyable in that sense. The story was clear. Jeff Hardy as the, almost defeating the odds makes sense. But yeah, it was, again, they're really building up Seth, because obviously I think he's the number one contender for the WWE Championship. So I think they're trying to build him up as strong as they can to go against Big E. Again, makes sense, because I think that'd be a really good match. You're going to get a good match out of that. But yeah, so before we get talking about more, we've got to talk about, obviously, prior to this recording, obviously, a fan attacked Seth Rollins on Raw after, I think, the main event. Not sure. He basically took him out. He's been arrested, obviously, and yeah, and obviously, I think there was a video going around of what he said, and the guy's crazy. But yeah, the point isn't trying to bring it up, because, like, one, don't attack wrestlers. Don't jump on the barrier and do that. Why? They are playing a character. As much as Seth Rollins' mouth gets him in trouble sometimes, and some of the stuff he disagree with, no one deserves to get attacked. Okay, don't do it. So he got arrested. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I mean, there seems to be a lot of fans attacking recently. I think we had on AEW, I think, building up to MJF versus Jericho. I think a fan came in, and obviously Jericho beat the crap out of him. So I don't know, man. I don't know if it's just security's being laxed or just it's easier to do these days. I don't know. But yes, don't do that. Don't attack Don't attack wrestlers. But yeah, I just thought I'd bring it up, because obviously it's kind of a deal. I mean, with this, obviously, we're talking about Seth Rollins. Bring it up, but yeah, don't do it. But hopefully, Seth's alright, because, again, with Seth Rollins, it's always been a thing. His ability in the ring's never in doubt. Sometimes his mouth gets him in trouble on Twitter. But that's just, you can say that about most wrestlers, to be fair. But that's cool, but don't attack him. Don't do that. That's just wrong. But yeah, so we've got back to talking about himself in the context of the wrestling world. Yeah. Would he probably get the win, because he's got cashed it in? I don't know how that winning that, was it Fatal 4-Way or what works? So, is it a cash-in type? Is it another Money in the Bank cash-in type situation? Or is it in cash-in the rematch anytime? We don't know. But that's pretty much why I think Seth won this. But yeah, it was a fun match. I think it was good. I don't think it was anything too crazy. There was some story threads that they started up. I'm assuming nothing was brought up about KO walking out. But I was Raw, so my bad. So, but yeah, so before we get into the next match, there was a couple of stuff backstage that we have to put across. We have to mention, obviously, we had this thing happened earlier of the show, of course, with Vince McMahon riding the limo with the Golden Egg, because they are sponsored by Red Notice, a Dwayne The Rock Johnson film that's on Netflix. Again, watched it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's really good. It had a really cool thing going on. I like it. But yeah, so obviously, and then everyone was happy to see him coming at him with the egg. Very uncomfortable when you know that more than ever that very fake, very put on, that you have to do this for the boss and all that kind of stuff. And it just felt weird. It felt uncomfortable, because they were like, yeah, we're happy to see you. It's like, but there's an atmosphere in that locker room that's not like that. They're fearing their jobs, man, in that place. It must be really hard to work in at the moment, but it felt awkward. One thing we've got to point out is, obviously, this is the 25th anniversary of The Rock's debut. And he did multiple vignettes of Rock moments over the years. That was fine, but I think at some point out, that's kind of right. That's what they were doing, like with the egg, but like The Rock. Would have been nice to be Rock there. He had work commitments or acting commitments. That makes sense. But if you're not going to deliver him turning up, or put him in a situation where, well, it's an anniversary, wouldn't it be there? Then why advertise it? I don't know. But yeah, after obviously a lot of that, more vignettes, we obviously had Vince was in his office with the Golden Egg, saying it was worth millions and millions of pounds. And was it Roman Reigns walking in and Vince was telling Roman Reigns this at this point, talking about, how much it's worth, as he said. And then obviously we had a nice little line. Roman was not interested at this point. He's like, why am I here? I've got better things to do than sit around listening to you talk about an egg that doesn't exist. But a nice little back off line, a nice line that I like. Dave's like, it's worth millions and millions of pounds. And then Roman was like, I guess that's how much my next contract. And he leaves. That's, get a 20-year contract, a 30-year contract. You're going to stay here until you die. So, but yeah, so Roman Reigns is probably going to do that. But yeah, it's very strange. We'll find out later, but obviously we've got to point out that someone stole the egg. but we all know who it was because obviously I'm calling this after. It was Austin Theory. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. It's not fun. I don't know why they did this. It's one of those things that sounds cool, like, oh, we'll find out more. But even done it weird, it was Austin Theory took it, and then Vince like, okay, well, you get a WWE Championship. Like, okay, Vince. So apparently a guy steals an egg that's worth millions and millions, and he gets a title shot. Okay. Weird, right? Very strange. But anyway, it's not important to anything ever, so we'll bring up a bit later in the show. But anyway, so next week, going to talk about the 20-man dual-branded Battle Royal, or that's basically like a homage to The Rock. It was in his name, also sponsored by Pizza Hut, with all these pizzas around. Very strange. But yeah, it was basically everyone that wasn't. We had AJ, we had... I mean, the big ones that had the entrances was probably just AJ, Sami Zayn, Omos, Street Profits. Pretty much, I don't want to name everyone in this Battle Royal, but basically anyone that wasn't in a match here was in this Battle Royal for the men's anyway. So whoever won this one would just win a Battle Royal, and that's cool, I guess. So had no stakes, had nothing, so no one cared about this match. And to be fair, neither did I, but the story that I think they were going for was pretty obvious here, with the kind of thing with, Omos was pretty much dominating. One thing we got to point out beforehand is the beginning of the match, AJ went underneath the ropes and stepped on the announce table, not getting involved, didn't get eliminated, so he just stood there and waited for his moment to strike. But at this point, Omos was basically just taking out everyone. I think it was Angel Garza got taken out, you got Goulash, you got Shelton Benjamin, basically taking him out very, very quickly. I think Omos was basically, this whole match was designed to make him look like a badass. That, if you look at it by that, it did definitely work. We had another R-Truth moment where you had R-Truth going and get some pizza on the outside, offered it to Omos like, ooh, I'm a big guy, I'm big and dumb, ooh, and he's like, nah, mate. Gave it to Otis, and he ate the pizza, but it didn't really persuade him to get the advantage, because he threw him over the top rope. So R-Truth is not going to win this, but yeah, a bit of a goofiness. You expect that from R-Truth. It's kind of his whole thing now. I mean, I'm surprised he hasn't trying to go back to get that 24/7. He's like the 50,000 champion. That I think I don't know who wins that now. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. Anyway, at this point, Omos is again just eliminating everyone. Pretty much. He had obviously tossed Rude. You got Ziggler trying to make peace with him, saying, "Oh no, I didn't. We wish whatever." Then out of nowhere, AJ we enters the match, hits a phenomenal forearm on AJ. I mean, not on AJ, from AJ. So Ziggler gets taken out. We had was it Sami Zayn? I think it was only 3 SmackDown guys left, trying to rally the troops to try and get them to work together against all the Raw guys, but no one likes Sami Zayn, sadly. No one likes him. They chucked him to the rules. He gets taken out. What a surprise by Omos. We had a nice back and forth between Omos and Aziz, and with was it almost clothesline Aziz on the outside, him taunting him out. We had a bit where AJ was yelling at him, and then we had this bit where tug of war when he had Aziz trying to pull AJ outside the ring, and then he had Omos trying to stop him. But it was counted as an almost elimination, probably for the fact that, he let him go and it basically went over the top rope and it was taken out. So AJ would be annoyed, but again, it's Stewie's guy is there, so technically it's all cool. We had a bit where obviously we had almost take out Cruz. Yeah, he's out, and then basically, he fighting off against him, trying to take him out, but then he eliminated pretty much everyone. As it keeps saying, took out Dawson, he took out Cesaro. We had Ford, my pick at the time, to win it. Just because I think, well, if it's a Rock, who has the most Rock charisma? It's obviously Montez Ford. But he slapped. Don't slap him once like that. He got eliminated, so I was pretty bummed. Then the final 2 was Omos and Ricochet. That made sense because they got the big entrance. You knew kind of that they were going to be on the final, if you kind of know how it works. So it's final 2 between them. Basically back and forth between them, but then the opposite at this point. Then you just had Omos, tossed him outside the ring, gets the win, and yeah, wins a Battle Royal that probably would just show how dominant he is. So if you look at it in that sense, it works. But there's nothing in this. There's just like, you don't win anything. You just get, well, I won a battle royal. That's cool, I guess. And you get the free pizza, I guess. Obviously, after the match, you had Street Profits stealing the pizza. We got like 2 tables up at the top of the ramp. But yeah, steal my pizza. And throwing it to the crowd. Let's be honest, would you touch that pizza? I wouldn't touch that pizza. It's when I never got when the New Day did the whole pancake thing. Would you eat that pancake when it's been down? Nah, I wouldn't either. So we had that. It's quick. It was like, this is okay, got here like 10 minutes. They didn't overstay its welcome. It was harmless fun, and almost looks good. That I don't know where they're going with this, but I think without AJ, I don't know if he's ready yet. He looked alright here, but it's getting better every time. But when you got AJ in your corner, but one of the best wrestlers of a generation, you're gonna be alright. So just interesting to see. But yeah, so I think at this point, if you look at it, I think Raw are 3-0 up. Let's have a look quickly, just for use my maths. So we had. So Raw 1, Becky 1, Raw Team 1. Yeah, I think it's 3-0 at this point. So another year where SmackDown's getting his ass handed to him. Normally would care, but I don't as much. Anyway, so yes, Almost is the winner of the Battle Royal. And gets free pizza. Hopefully he got it. Let's hope so. So, next match we're going to talk about is a champion versus champion tag team match with the Raw Tag Team Champions. RK Bro, Randy Orton, and Matt Riddle going against the SmackDown Tag Team Champions in the Usos, Jimmy and Jey Uso. In a match that I could see I can get a little bit excited for it because, again, RK Bro have been really cool on Raw, probably the only shining light on Raw, I would probably say. And obviously Usos are being a great with the stuff they're doing with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. So, but yeah, so you're hoping it'd be a good, fun, entertaining match. But yeah, if we talk about the match in general, most of the match was basically Matt Riddle getting isolated from Randy Orton and the Usos doing a 2-on-1, basically. Very good tag team wrestling here. It's pretty much most of the match until obviously Randy Orton came into the match and basically was on the hot tag situation, comes into the ring. Was on fire. He slammed Jimmy and Jey onto the like a back suplex onto the announce table. We got obviously that draping DDT he's known for as vintage Orton. Basically, was on fire. We had a bit where he trying to set up a was it RKO? I mean, of course, how can I forget the RKO? Trying to set up the RKO, but the Usos were able to get out of the way. We had some back and forth action with Matt Riddle and the Usos. It's really cool stuff there. We got Jimmy hitting some weird variational back neck breaker. It looked really cool. It got Matt Riddle for a near fall. Then we got Matt Riddle got back into the was back into his match hitting German suplexes. Another near fall. Matt Riddle was kicking ass at this point. We obviously got an Uso doing this really cool pop-up Samoan drop kind of on Riddle for a near fall as well. Again, more 2-on-1 on Matt Riddle. Where we got probably more best moments of the match was when you got the Usos hitting a double super kick on Randy Orton. Then obviously a double super kick on Matt Riddle, very similar to like a V trigger but with super kicks. For very near fall, you thought that would have been it. Then obviously Orton did get tagged himself in again near the end of the match, but Jimmy didn't know. Then Jimmy went to the top. I think he was trying to go for the splash on Matt Riddle, but it wouldn't be a Randy Orton match with some sort of RKO out of nowhere. You could sit there and say very similar to the Evan Bourne in the sense that catching someone doing their finisher in midair. Very good, man. We love an RKO out of nowhere. It's probably not his best one because he's done some crazy ones over the years. But yeah, so he gets the pin, gets the win, and looks like we'll get their ass handed to them. So I think it's like 4-1 at this point. I don't think it really matters. But I think this match was it was a good match. I think it's more of a situation that it was nothing really crazy going on. I think they could have done more here, but it's fine. But you able to have RKO out of nowhere. What more do you want? I mean, it's good for what it was. So, I mean, I'd be interested to see on SmackDown if there's a story behind this that, Roman's not going to be happy with the Usos for losing. Because obviously, reputation at hand, of course. But Matt Riddle looked great here. I enjoyed the stuff. It was good. I mean, I probably brushed over a lot of stuff here. But again, it's like some of these matches, you could just basically get the cliff notes of what was going on. But yeah, they had some cool moments. It was fun. It was fine, but it's not going to blow you away. It's nothing like, oh my god, check this match out. It's one of those matches that if it was on Raw or SmackDown TV, it'd be good as well. But again, pay-per-view quality, I don't know. A lot of these probably weren't. That sounds horrible, but yeah. But yeah, so okay, bro, get the victory, and the Usos lose it. After this, we had again, as we talked about earlier, someone stole the egg. We know who it was. We talked about it. It was Austin Theory, obviously with Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville saying, call the cops. That's like, okay, got better things to do than search millions and millions on an egg. But okay, cool. But we already talked about it, so let's move on. Obviously, we had a Xia Li, was it debut kind of video where it's saying she's going to debut. I think they said SmackDown. I think they're doing her as more of like a hero kind of type thing. That again would have been cool. I don't mind that, but I like the idea. I would have liked to seen her because the whole NXT 2.0 reboot. A lot of storylines have just been scrapped that they're building up quite nicely. Xia Li would be in control. I can't remember that like mysterious force. Would have been cooler if it's like she turned into that. Like she kind of like she became a hero because she escaped the clutches of this evil force. But they never done it, so it's kind of annoying because obviously NXT has some cool stuff and they just got rid of it. It's so annoying. But yeah, so she'll be debuting soon. So next we're going to talk about the other 5-on-5 Survivor Series match, the Women's Survivor Series match, where you had Team Raw when you had Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Carmella, and Queen Selena Vega. I can't believe I almost forgot her name there, my bad. Very bad with names. Then we've got Team SmackDown with Sasha Banks, Shayna Baszler, Shotzi Blackheart, Natalya, and a new addition that was just kind of announced online, Toni Storm, that you totally forgot existed because everyone else seems to. But yeah, I mean, again, the story with this stuff is more like you had both teams not getting along. A lot of was it Sonya Deville getting involved, trying to change it up. I think was it Natalya? Not Talia. Naomi was in the match, but then she was taken out. Very strange stuff. The usual. Basically, both of the Survivor Series matches this year were very similar in the way they booked. But for the match itself, we started off with Toni Storm and Carmella. We had Carmella going for trying to get her mask, her face mask. I don't actually know what it's about. I don't know, but it's very strange. She couldn't get it. She couldn't get the mask on for some reason. All that kind of focusing on the mask and not on her opponent cost her dearly. And a roll up by Toni Storm was able to get SmackDown a quick elimination, and they lead 5-4. Again, the same kind of beat for beat stuff on the men's. The team gets SmackDown gets a quick elimination early. One with Kevin Owens walking out. This one with a quick roll up. No surprise, this match broke down at this point. We had obviously a face-off between... My God, this sounds vaguely familiar. A face-off between Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Again, yeah, very similar to Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley, where they just both face-off. Crowd love it. And yeah, I think they went beat for beat the same kind of story, but just mixed it up a little bit. It's fine, but it's kind of annoying when you can see it. We had back and forth exchanges from these two. We obviously had Sasha trying to go for the bank statement, locking in the bank statement on Bianca Belair. Then we had making the ropes and hitting, and she was able to hit a 4-way slam. Was it accident? I think it was back and forth, and accidentally Natalya knocked off the ropes. Didn't mean anything really, because it didn't really contribute to anything really. Then we got a nice Banks hitting a nice double springboard 1080 DT, looked really cool. Then we obviously had Bianca Belair grabs and hits a spine buster, and she tries to go for her kiss of death finisher, but Sasha Banks was able to grab her hair. Everyone grabs her hair apparently. But then we had Selena Vega coming in with Bear tossing her into Banks to try and get for a 2. She tries to go for a cold red, but then obviously it's tagged, and then Storm is tagged in, and then was able to pin Selena Vega with a knee to the face to eliminate her. So the Queen Vega is out of the match. So I think it's 5-4-4 at this point, or 3-4. I don't know. But obviously at this point, and then obviously we had more eliminations. We had Liz Morgan eliminating Storm with the Oblivion finishes. I think that's what it's called. She was eliminated. Then we had was it Shayna Baszler locking in the camera boomer. Basically crutch, basically a sleeper on Liv. I think she was, and then she was eliminated. We had almost eliminated. Yeah, what was it? Liv Morgan was able to tag in Shotzi, tagged herself in. She hit a splash, but then Banks did the same with a frog splash to eliminate Morgan, and she was out by that. My bad. Yeah, it's been a long time since I watched this match, for a couple of days. So a lot of one thing we've got to point out was a lot of back and forth exchanges between Shotzi Blackheart and Sasha Banks. A lot of she not respecting each other, so a lot of back and forth tags. Shotzi not wanting, to be upstaged by Sasha Banks. That was kind of story going in. So anyway, after this bit, we had obviously Ripley came in, headbutted Banks, and then walked around the ring, hitting some vertical suplexes. They look really cool. They're obviously Rhea Ripley is awesome. Then obviously Shotzi came back in and gave a suplex down, suplexed, and then Baszler kneed Ripley into the face for the pin. She's eliminated, so it's 4-1. Bianca Belair's 4-on-1, so a bit different than Jeff, in the sense that it's not 2-on-1, it's now 4-on-1. So SmackDown going to win this, right? Nah, it's not how it works in this game. Then we've got the bit that kind of like changed the matchup really, where you got Banks runs for Bier over, but Shotzi and Banks get into an argument that ended up on the floor. Then you got Banks shoving Shotzi into Shayna Baszler, so they fight once again. And then when Natalya gets slapped in the face as well, they all turn on her, they all beat her up, and she tries to get back in the ring and make sure she gets counted out. So she's eliminated, so it's now 3-on-1. Someone pointed out rightly, what the hell are they doing? She's probably the best person they've got, and they're going to eliminate her for petty reasons. It's really... For that alone, SmackDown deserves to lose this match. Let's be honest. But anyway, obviously at this point it's 3-on-1. They got back in the ring. We got a sharpshooter by Natalya, I think it was, on Bianca Belair, but she was able to reverse it into a roll-up, and Natalya for the pin, so she's out, so it's now 2-on-1. And then we had, then she was able to hit a glam slam on Shayna Baszler, so she was eliminated, so now it's 1-on-1, Shotzi and Bianca Belair. No offense to Shotzi, but we knew where this is going. We had Shotzi sending Bianca Belair throat first into the ropes, and then trying to go for running hip taps and two more. She missed her charge. Bianca Belair was able to hit the kiss of death, and gets the win and wins her team. And Raw does a clean sweep of both the men's and the women's. Again, fine, but again, very similar story. Let's be honest, very similar story to the men's one. Nothing crazy, pretty much the same stuff here. So I'm really surprised that they went for the same one. Little things change, but the same thing happens. Some team gets eliminated, one member gets eliminated early. It brawls out into the ring. We had two of the biggest kind of feuds that they've got facing off. Kind of, probably one get eliminated by count out. Different way, but sort of similar. One being outnumbered by the odds, getting it down to 1-1, and then getting a win. Very similar. But it was fun in that sense. It was fun, but I think the men's done a little bit better though. That's just pure. But yeah, it's good. I mean, but at least Bianca Belair, they're kind of, hopefully they're trying to book her strong, so she can face off against Becky, so we can have a rematch between Becky and Bianca Belair. That I'm not against, to be fair. I know it's rhymed, but yeah, I mean, I think that's where they go with it. I mean, because obviously ever since she lost the title, they haven't really booked her right. So hopefully they're building her up to a big. I wouldn't surprise them. She's the favourite to win the Royal Rumble. As the boys sacked everyone, there are no real clear winners this year. I'm surprised if Drew wins the men's, to be fair, but let's get into that near the time. But so yeah, Team Raw, clean sweep. I think they're going to win this year, but again, they wouldn't know. They didn't bring it up anyway, so only I brought it up. So before we get to the main event, obviously there was a backstage segment with Paul Heyman, being asked, what was it? Basically saying, why? I don't know who stole the egg. I didn't steal the egg. Maybe it was someone in Brooklyn. very, very poorly done. Then a lot of stuff with him taking the mick out of Brooklyn. And then he got more serious when he heard that Brock Lesnar's suspension might be up soon. And Paul Heyman's face, as always, is a sight to behold. And then we had a bit where he blamed Adam Pearce, and he should be more worried than Paul Heyman. So that probably sets up either a match at WrestleMania or a match at Royal Rumble. It should be good, or at day one. Obviously, we don't have a WWE pay-per-view in December. That's very strange, but I guess it's good. In the sense of reviewing, means we can take a break a little bit, take our time. So anyway, so let's get to the main event of the show. Obviously, it was kind of the big match, except for Becky and Charlotte. The match we're kind of looking forward to. Obviously, it was another champion versus champion match. We got the newly won championship won by Big E, the WWE champion Big E, going against a year-long reign by Roman Reigns, the Universal Champion. But yeah, it was. I think a lot of this was kind of. I like the build-up as well. A lot of the stuff where it's like was it because obviously King Woods is now on SmackDown. A lot of attacking on him. I think he took out Kofi, or kayfabe took him out to kind of like send a message to Big E. So it kind of became personal more than just a kind of personal rivalry, trying to get back at kind of Roman Reigns for all the bad stuff he's done to his brothers, his former tag team partners. So I think that was how the match was going to go. One thing I'll point out is like with the kind of finish of the match, like yeah, it was a very clean win. I mean, spoiler, besides obviously a clean win there from Roman Reigns. No ref bumps, no Usos coming in, just a plain victory we want. But yeah, let's go a bit more into the match itself as well. Obviously, we had both hitting through the match. We had both hitting their finishes. We had obviously, I think Roman later on hit a spear, got a near fall, and then obviously we got Big E hitting a big ending for a near fall as well. That is how these big matches work. We had obviously Big E powering Roman Reigns into the corner, starting on Roman. Was it at the beginning of the match, trying to get a breather, and then Paul Heyman talking himself up, saying, "Do you know who you are? Don't let this guy intimidate you. Don't let this guy embarrass you." That kind of stuff, Then obviously Roman Reigns done what he always does in matches, slows the pace down, beats the crap out of Big E, taking control, as you expect. But then Big E got back into it. We had a nice running splash in the apron, but Roman Reigns was able to roll out of the way. So obviously that stuff with his knee that I think they worked on. Oh, was it his stomach? I can't remember. Then we obviously got stuff with Big E struggling on the apron, and then obviously we got Roman at this point hitting a drive-by. So he was, again, Roman Reigns is completely control of this match. We had stuff like as well was Roman trying to go for the Superman punch. Big E evades, catches him, and then we had Big E with a rock bottom on. Again, they're kind of doing what AEW did with Eddie, like hitting a lot of moves from the guy I was trying to emulate. I think AEW done better, but that's because I don't want to go there. But yes, we got Rock Bottom 2. We had Roman Reigns did hit a Superman punch, but Big E only drops to his knees, and then we obviously had Roman hit a second Superman punch, but Big E was able to fight out, kind of hulking up, as you would say. It wasn't working, and then but it was funny how he was taken down with a third consecutive Superman punch, setting up for the spear. But Big E was able to get his feet and stare down Roman. I love that. It just shows how resilient Big E is. I like that. Then we obviously got the bit that always makes me uncomfortable when you have Big E spearing Roman through the middle ropes and off the apron. It looked the landing was a bit funny. I don't know if I like it, so hopefully he's okay. Then we had a nice little thing at the back where we tried to roll him back in the ring, but Reigns hits the ropes and catches Big E with a spear into the outs. Basically hits him in the spear out of nowhere, as we said. So I had to get out, get a quick near fall. And then we obviously got head back into the ring, and then obviously he tries to lock in the guillotine in the middle of the ring, but Big E was able to power out and again counter into a big ending. Big E was able to make the cover, but to grab the bottom rope again, similar to what he did with the opening match. They do this spot a lot. Then obviously, as I said, both finishes didn't work, so what can he do? Then we obviously got Roman, went to the outside, Big E slammed his onto the top turnbuckle, but Big E whips Roman Reigns into the barricade and tries to whip him into the steel steps. But Roman reverses and instead whips Big E into the steps. Then Roman connects with a Superman punch off the steps, rolls Big E into the ring. Big E goes for another big ending, but Reigns blocks, hits another spear. 1, 2, 3, and gets the victory. So it makes it 5-2 to SmackDown, against SmackDown. But Roman was always going to win here. But as you said at the beginning of talking about it, very strange that he got a clean win here. Very strange. Would have I don't know. I think Big E's alright because obviously it's one-off match, champion versus champion. Roman's not losing until, I don't know, The Rock if he comes back, or maybe Drew. I wouldn't mind, just because I think it's the only big match they've got that really is a big match. Except for The Rock, maybe, or Brock. Maybe Brock might take title, but I don't want Brock being champion again. So I'm hoping it's that feud's more about just them and not the title. Let's hope. But yeah. I mean, it was a by the numbers show. As I said at the beginning of the review, nothing crazy going on here. If you missed this, you're not missing much. I think because obviously I didn't want to crown you, I think I'll miss more than that match that tells you a lot about this show, to be fair. But I actually will go on back, probably watch that Hell in a Cell match at some point as we get into the end of the year reviews. But I think the main event was fine. It was what you expect. It was nothing too controversial, not like the last one we had with Roman winning by basically because the turnbuckle. I don't think we ever found out why that happened, other than it just happened. Okay, whatever. Anyway, but yeah. So my final thoughts are probably just to round up that basically it was a by the numbers show. Nothing crazy happened. If you missed this, you're not missing much. But WWE do put there was nothing really oh my god, this is terrible territory. I think it was fine. It was good in the sense that the match was competent. And to a point, I kind of did enjoy the show a little bit. But again, it's the most WWE. I'm probably not going to go back to a lot of these matches. And none of them are match of the year. So, I don't know. If I was going to give it a grade, I'll probably give it I don't know. It's a tough one. I'll probably give it... I'll probably give it 6 out of 10. Because I don't think there's any standout match. I mean, 6, maybe 7, maybe. I think 6 is probably fair. It was nothing crazy, something amazing. So, and it's really sad because this is the last pay-per-view of the year. So you're expecting them to go out with a bang, but you could sit there and say they've kind of gone out on a whimper. It's really sad because if they just put some stakes in this and they actually tried to actually make us care, this would have been a good pay-per-view. So I don't know. So, but anyway, yes, this is my review of WWE Survivor Series 2001. I'm hopefully we'll be back for the NXT War Games. Obviously, this is the first kind of, it's not a takeover, but the first kind of big event they've done on this new NXT 2.0. There's an interesting thing as well. It's the first one where the Undisputed Era are not going to headline as being inside the War Games. It's very sad. That tells you a lot about how much they've changed. I'm hoping it'll be a good show. I'm hoping because maybe the build-up shows suck, but maybe the building up, even the WWE shows are kind of good. So I'm hoping that they really put off the kind of stuff that they were doing with the War Games. I want the War Games matches. If they do, I'll be happy. If they're enjoyable, I'll be happy. But yeah, so hopefully Josh will be back for that. Just again, really busy guy. He's as I said before, I'm surprised over the last 3 years this hasn't happened more often. So it was bound to happen eventually. But yeah, he's just a busy guy, very good actor. So just shows he's in demand. So but until hopefully he'll be back. But if you're not back for that, I'm sure he'll be back for our kind of end of the year review. Not sure what we're going to do yet. We don't have to do another a kind of awards thing, or just do maybe a grand talk of it all. But instead of doing who's the best and all that, just maybe talk about the year in general from all the companies from WWE, NXT, AEW, New Japan. Hopefully we'll figure something out. We've got a whole month to figure something out. So look out for that. But yes, if you like what you hear here, there are more reviews on this will be up soon, as well as I'll probably put the TLC review from last year because obviously that'll be up soon as well. So, but please go please like and subscribe for that. If you like, also if you want to find out more about it, you can go on our Twitter at Josh and Stu Pod. A lot of stuff on there as well. If you can also go on the Josh and Stu Wrestling Podcast on our Instagram, the Josh and Stu Podcast at gmail.com. If you want to learn, if you want to talk to us in other ways, or any sponsorship stuff or anything like that, or prediction stuff that Josh will get around to. He just said he's a very busy guy at the moment. Hasn't been his priority. That's fair enough. It happens. So, but yeah, so check all that stuff out. But anyways, hopefully you've enjoyed my review of Survivor Series 2021. Maybe there might be more of these solo reviews in the future. You just don't know. Weirder things have happened maybe by the end of the year, and 2022 is a new year. So hopefully new stuff might happen. We don't know. So until then, have an awesome rest of the week. I've been Stuart Irvine, and I'll be back for more wrestling reviews. Hopefully with Josh. Fingers crossed. So until then, have an awesome week. And speak to you guys next time. Bye everyone. Bye.